Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So you've talked a lot about ways to reduce the federal bureaucracy.
Yep.
In Washington, as you know, a lot of laws get passed, big budgets, and then the administrative state takes over and figures
right.
out how to implement it. What would you do to reduce the federal workforce? How would you break through the red tape and do it?
So I take a strong view of Article 2 of the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution says the President of the United States runs the federal government, runs specifically the executive branch of the federal government. That means that I think a lot of those civil service protections are unconstitutional. So that means that regardless of civil service protections, anti-impoundment prevention acts, you can't read Article 2 without interpreting it, in my opinion, in a way that allows the U.S. president to actually deliver on what the person who runs the country does, which is to say that if somebody works for you and you can't fire them, then they don't actually work for you, it means you work for them. And so I actually would just proceed with shutting down agencies, with firing a good portion of the federal workforce. I think it's going to be at least half the federal workforce. And will that end up in litigation? It will. But I think this Supreme Court, this hasn't always been true, but I think this Supreme Court shares that view of Article 2. And I think we use that to set judicial precedent to make sure that never again is there a president who's gobbled up by the administrative state that supposedly works for him, but actually has the relationship the other way around.
And as you know, for a long time, the Republican Party's talked about getting rid of certain federal
Of course,
agencies,
it's been a long
but they've
talking
never
point for a
done
long
it.
time. Yeah, because they defer to Congress. And so the problem is Congress has an institutional bias where this is the way you run the executive branch is not the purview of Congress. It is the purview of the executive, the person who leads the executive branch of government. So I think this is a constitutional view that takes a strong view, in my opinion, that a lot of these civil service protections, impoundment prevention statutes, what that refers to is saying that if Congress allocates money, the chief executive has to spend it on said source, even if it's going to be a source of waste or fraud or ineffective spending. No, that's not what being a chief executive of the country actually means. So I think it involves taking a strong view of Article 2 of the Constitution and following through by doing the thing that many presidents should have already done: shut down agencies, cut the size of the federal workforce, and replace those civil service protections actually with 8-year sunset clauses, which I believe can be done by executive order. By executive order, say that if I can't work for the federal government for more than 8 years, which I think is a good thing as U.S. president, I don't think anybody else who works for me should be able to work for the federal government for more than 8 years either. And then there's some middle ground things you could do. Move those agencies out of Washington, D.C., okay? Now, if you move a lot out of Washington, D.C., one thing that's good about that is it restores more accountability to the people. But there's the simpler fact, which is a lot of the people from Washington, D.C. just won't want to move. I mean, that's a good way to just get rid of half of them off of voluntary terminations right there, save the severance costs. So I have detailed views on how to get this done. But at a high level, it's grounded in a strong view of the Constitution.
What are the first departments that you think could be consolidated or eliminated?
So the Department of Education, I've already identified, is the first department that ought to be eliminated, that I intend to eliminate. And actually, in my speech today, I'm going to lay out the second. And over the course of the year, we're going to go down the list. It's not commerce yet. Well, there's a lot ready to be on the potential chop block. Come to the speech, and you'll see me outline the second. I think it's going to take some people by surprise.
And the last one for you, the public sector unions. You would be going to war with
We'd end
them.
up. We'd end up. I mean, even FDR, who was a big pro-union advocate, never approved of and never believed that we should have public sector unions. Because think about it. If you're a public servant and you're unionizing, who exactly are you unionizing against? The very public you intend to serve. I don't think there needs to be any special protections for public employee unions, full stop. And I don't think we should hedge about it.
And I saw that you said you don't think former President Trump, will attack you or go after you.
I don't think so, but maybe he will.
What made you say that? And will you be prepared if he comes after you?
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's like trash talk on a basketball court. You know, if you don't have the thick skin to deal with a little bit of trash talking, you probably shouldn't be the person representing this country in front of Xi Jinping. I think we have a deep relationship and mutual respect. You know, we're both high energy guys. I respect what he did. You know, we're friends, and so I don't expect it. But if he wants to trash talk a little on the court, we'll have some fun with it.